Now we put the two sides together, the self and the situation. So imagine you know something is changing. There's a dynamic environment in front of you. You know it's going in a particular direction, and you need to change, you need to adapt. And you've done the homework to be able to toggle and adapt yourself, to understand what's going on inside your body so that you can transform yourself in line with the environment. So you have great sense of self, great sense of the environment, and now our third component can emerge, which is the strategy. What do I do about this? I know something is changing. I know I need to change. How do I move things in a forward direction? So we look at strategic leadership. This is all about moving yourself, people, resources in a particular direction. In a previous video, I defined leadership as the conscious process where individuals and teams drive and direct creativity. It is only at this moment, this culminating moment, when we talk about strategy and strategic leadership, that this all comes together. We've mastered the self, we've mastered the outer world, so now we can move and move tremendous things in order to get to our goal. Many leaders I work with, they focus just on the strategy. So how do I get from point A to point B? But they miss the other two steps. If you don't have self-leadership, then you don't know how to change oneself. So you're moving things in a direction, but you're only doing it with kind of one personal strategy. So let's say that someone is very orderly. They're conscientious. They like to put things in the right place. Everything's got to be fine-tuned, and they find themselves in a chaotic environment. They know they got to go from point A to point B, but their entire strategy is very rigid, very fixed. They cannot change themselves, adapt themselves to be more flexible. We can have the opposite example where someone is typically very chaotic and they need to create an orderly plan to get somewhere, and they can't do it because they're stuck in the strategy of being really loosey-goosey flexible. So being able to toggle one's behavioral strategy because one understands their own motivations, desires, body, emotions, thoughts, bring it into alignment, that is what is needed to actually execute the strategy with different skills and different ways of doing it. Now, imagine that someone is missing situational leadership, so they want to drive a strategy forward, but they have no clue what's happening in the environment. So this person is actually creating a strategy based on their mental construct. They've created a projection, a story, an image of what the world is and what the world will be. Funny enough, when researchers have looked at forecasting, so people who plan ahead and they make plans and projections about the future will be, they end up incurring much more risk, which is counterintuitive because you'd think if I plan, I should reduce the amount of risk. But people who plan, they end up becoming overconfident in assumptions that they've made and this fake world they've created, these fake realities they've created, and then the real reality never matches the plan and it all comes tumbling. So having a strategy that's not attached to reality or to the situation is insanity. It's worthless. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of effort. I would personally rather be attuned to the environment and adapt as I go than have this grand big strategy that makes me overconfident and lose touch with the reality, because reality will always win out. And so these three pieces work together. And consider now we put it all together. Something occurs in the environment. Something's starting to change. I feel it, I sense it, I understand something is shifting. So I change myself, I adapt what is needed, I feel all my emotions, I integrate everything I need to within myself, and I put together a strategy to move myself, my people, my resources in a direction in line with how the situation is evolving. And along the way, I know how to manage myself, I know how to change myself, I know how to transform myself so that I can make this strategy work. That is a true leader, and that leader cannot be defeated because there is no failure when you can fully adapt to the situation and fully adapt yourself. That person has covered all their bases. So if something still doesn't work, then truly it wasn't meant to be. There's nothing within your control that could ever change that thing. And that needs to be accepted too. That nothing within your efforts, nothing within your leadership could change this outcome. But then you haven't failed because you've still maximized your leadership. You've maximized what was within your cards. If an asteroid hits Earth tomorrow, I don't feel like a failure. I just feel like that's an event that happened and now I'm dead. So what I am in control of, I can attend to, and that is where I succeed and fail. Anything beyond that is beyond my scope. It's beyond my role.